What is going on YouTube? This is Ask the Root. So I'm going to review the debut album by Slipknot. Basically, this album is self-titled. It's called Slipknot, and it came out in the summer of 1999. This album went double platinum. This album went double platinum, which I'm surprised that it didn't sell more than that, especially since 1999. It seems like it should have and definitely needed to. And in terms of like its popularity, Metal Hammer magazine had said that in 2011 they felt like it was voted the best debut album of the past 25 years, which would have been between 1986 and 2011. So that's pretty good to have that sort of certification. Definitely kind of has that vibe. This is an excellent debut. This is definitely going to get a pretty rave score, and this is filled with like pounding kind of mosh pit craziness and this overall ravenous energy. Like Stone Sour, which is another band by Corey Taylor, is definitely another similar band to Slipknot, but it has more kind of makeshift and pop rock kind of tunes thrown in there. But Slipknot is just the sheer kind of venomous kind of testosterone craziness. And I mean, apart from like Wait and Bleed and maybe like one other song that is I would say like apart from Wait and Bleed and maybe one other song like Me Inside, Corey Taylor sticks to like the more mosh kind of vocals, but this is kind of a new metal album. I would have to say that this is surprisingly, there's a couple of times on here like on a song like Spit It Out, or like on a song like Spit It Out or No Life or Only One or some of those type songs. Corey Taylor does kind of rap on here a little bit. It's early Slipknot, so I don't know how many times this happens. I don't think this happened that much on Iowa, but at least the first couple albums by Slipknot, there was some kind of new metal vibes. And this is kind of weird that this album is a new metal album, thinking back on it, because I've owned this album for a while. This is an old gem for me, because originally I was going to review this about in the spring or summer of 2016. Like it just gave me problems back then. I was kind of more like there was a lot of songs it took more getting used to than I was doing back in 2016. But I was going to review that like April, May, June of 2016, something like that. I've owned this album for a while to kind of remember that. I've just messed with this project for quite some time, and I do have to say this does have like a new metal vibe about it, and it's this kind of like I mean to me it kind of feels more like a kind of metal album with like a little bit of rapping thrown in, because it's only on like two or three songs, maybe four at most. It's not many on here. I feel like for the most part this is a pretty sheer metal album. It's just kind of, I mean, if you started with new metal through Slipknot, that's a pretty good credit, just because really, compared to things like Korn and Papa Roach, Limp Bizkit, and Linkin Park, I would definitely say that this is like the more, would be kind of a ravenous path as far as that kind of goes. It's just in the context of looking after like going with like the sheer craziness, because they are quite a few steps crazier than Korn. They have some good riffs like Limp Bizkit, but they're crazier than Limp Bizkit, and they're more ravenous and manic than Linkin Park and other folks like Crazy Town. It's just, yeah, Slipknot is definitely the most high octane of all the new metal bands, I would have to say. They have the most carnivorous energy by far. Maybe Mushroom Head would be about the only other ones I would say that keeps up with Slipknot in terms of that. But this is kind of the concept. So this is definitely, I agree with Metal Hammer magazine as far as saying that this is an excellent debut. So we're definitely going to get into this. And apparently, as I look on this page, the wiki talking about Slipknot, apparently there was a demo release of something that came out even before Slipknot from 1999. Apparently there's an album called Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat. There's a demo release that came out in 97 called Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat. So I'm going to have to check that out and see what's up with that. But yeah, we'll get to that as time goes along. But for now, we're going to review Slipknot 99. So there were two singles off this album, plus one promotional single. So the two singles were Wait and Bleed and Spit It Out, and the promotional single was Surfacing. So I'll go ahead and talk about these. Wait and Bleed's a real kind of brilliant single, has a great kind of crafted for radio kind of feel. This is a continued highlight even today. This is like one of the most distinct Slipknot songs. They really kick down the gates right out the gate and stuff. And this has like a great mosh pit kind of freak trip kind of energy. It's a nice nightclub bop at that as well. And the hook is really awesome. Like Corey Taylor sings on this one, similar to the stuff that he does on Stone Sour. It's just really crafted for radio. I would say that this is like a makeshift Slipknot song. It's not necessarily makeshift, but it is presentable for radio. I mean, it has the manic energy and the mosh kind of craziness in there, but it is kind of radio crafted as far as that's kind of concerned. They definitely needed more songs like this, because I mean, to have a complaint or two about Slipknot, just to kind of say that they do have like the manic energy kind of down, but in terms of that, it really switches to hardcore and hardcore metal pretty quickly. So if you're looking for something with polish and something to play on the radio and kind of display for like blue collar and SFW moments, it doesn't oftenly happen. This is definitely more of like fraternizing and kind of hardcore kind of music, but at least Wait and Bleed kind of has that. I mean, really, I don't know how SFW Wait and Bleed is, but it's the closest thing. I just would say it's commendable for that concept. It's not like, I mean, I definitely don't care. I definitely don't give a crap. I'm just gonna have to say I definitely kind of feel like this energy and these riffs on here and the craziness is just purely, this is just a weekend and kind of all weekend, every weekend of the month long highlight as far as that kind of goes. Just good stuff. Spit It Out is one of the ones I'm talking about though. That's just kind of hardcore kind of craziness. This one's definitely some summer heat kind of energy, and this has great warm weather kind of carnage feeling. It's just a very turned up kind of song, and this has some mosh pit kind of energy. This one just really gets kind of crazy, and this one is kind of tougher. Yeah, Spit It Out is kind of one of the more hardcore rock kind of songs I was talking about, but this one definitely, the energy of this is just off the meter. I feel like this one just really has like some crazy energy. I don't really think that this song charted, and if it did, it didn't chart too high, but I do think it's interesting that rock songs kind of have the same problem as rap songs when you look after it. Like a more song with polish, like Wait and Bleed, just does better, which is kind of the typical type song of like a rap song when you look at something that kind of has like a R&B singer on the hook or like a club type sound or something like that. But the Spit It Out is kind of more of like a more gangsta and kind of more guns up kind of song, and just kind of in a more kind of ravenous highlight. But it still works. I mean, this song still did chart, but it's just kind of less presentable in that sort of ordainment. It's just less SFW and kind of communable, but I still think it's a pretty good highlight. And then like Surfacing was the promotional single. Now Wikipedia doesn't have any information about this song as far as like it being a single, but it does say on like the discography that it did at least attempt to be the third single. So it's interesting for that one. This was a song, when I tried to review this album back in 2016, this was a song that I didn't have as much taste for, but now I definitely like a lot more. Surfacing is definitely like a very hot day kind of song. This one just feels like a muggy kind of, when it's muggy outside, and it just is very throaty and kind of frustrated kind of energy, where it just is kind of reaching like a aggravated apex, something like that, where it's hot and it's summer out, and just that kind of feeling of just that frustration. I really feel like this is just kind of one of those pitch of songs. This has a great energy. It's just a real kind of summer rager, just great mosh and kind of crunkness of kind of energy and stuff. This really is one of the crazier ones. This is definitely one I think you could hear at like a concert and arena type stuff. It just has more outdoors kind of feeling towards it. It's a lot more kind of pitch of summer kind of feels. Definitely July, August kind of energy. So but yeah, to kind of talk about the rest of this album, so there's 14 songs on here. They're actually, I mean, there's like a 19-minute song called Scissors, and then it goes into like a 15th song, which is called Eeyore or something like that, and it just kind of happens to where minus like the skit song at the beginning, that 7426 song, there's 13 songs on here, or 14. So that just kind of happens to be the concept. So there's 14, and out of 14 songs, I recommend 10 of them to you. So I'm going to go ahead and recommend those 10 songs. So they would be Wait and Bleed, Spit It Out, Surfacing, Liberate, Sick, Eyeless, Tattered and Torn, Me Inside, Diluted, and Prosthetics. That's a lot. So just to be able to talk about some of these, like I talked about the 3 singles. Liberate has a really nice riff on here. This is a really good album cut. Has ravenous energy. It's just a great rager. Just the riffs are outstanding on here. This is probably one that I could have seen as like a single. It's kind of just like it's a real kind of carnivorous song, similar to Spit It Out, but it does have a decent enough energy to be another stock album cut to kind of bolster this album. And then 2 really crazy songs where the energy just kicks off immediately with that kind of rage, kind of just super carnivorous and crazy kind of feel towards it, are Sick and Eyeless. Like Sick is really a loony song. The rage is just off the scale on here. It's definitely a mosh highlight. And then Eyeless is just kind of a super carnage like song, and the summer heat on here, it just really goes crazy. Really feel like Eyeless has some real I really feel like Eyeless has some true summer kind of hot pitch kind of energy as far as that kind of goes. But a surprise on here, this album is not really autumn like Korn. This album is not really autumn like Korn tends to get and kind of have that October kind of energy, but it at least does it once or twice. Like I feel like Me Inside and Tattered and Torn at least have some of that autumn and October, September kind of feel. Tattered and Torn in particular has like this really kind of banshee-like ghoulish shrieks on the song. It's very autumn and haunting. This is a very overall shrill tune. It's probably one of the spookier songs on here. Definitely appreciate that one. And then Me Inside. And then Me Inside, I kind of feel like this one's just a leery kind of freak show kind of song. I mean, it's kind of summer energy, but it's also kind of late summer, early autumn. I'd say this would be like the pitch of August, like late August, mid-September, something like that, early October, where it's still kind of warm out. This has some nice manic energy, and it goes nuts in the chorus. So there's definitely, this album has plenty of gems to mosh to and that type of stuff. But this is also kind of a creepy, just you can tell by the masks on the album cover that you would think that this would be an autumn album, but it's really, most of this album's kind of concerned with summer fanfare and just the summer heat and the pitch of that and that type of stuff. But there are some autumn gems on here if you look hard enough, and Me Inside is one of them. And then I feel like Diluted is kind of another one that kind of has that feel, but it's definitely a dungeon-like kind of sludge house party kind of jam. It definitely has some glares on the song, but it also has like some pretty mosh and kind of manic kind of energy. It has good rave vibes, but still kind of a night venue hit. I feel like Diluted is at least a house party song where you can listen to it at the house where you're just moshing with some of your buddies and that type of stuff, but it can be a night venue hit. And there are some ones on here, like I feel like Liberate's a nice night venue song, and Wait and Bleed's a nice night venue song, definitely. Prosthetics is a pretty good one. So there are some good ones on here. Diluted is definitely a good one. So there's just some good ones. It's interesting that this kind of comes off as like a nightclub kind of album. I mean, in certain ways. I mean, I feel like this is just kind of more summer mosh energy and this kind of like backyard, maybe barbecue type sessions, that type of stuff, where you're just in a tank top and shorts and that type of stuff. But I do see some of it. If you do want to step out, if you look hard enough, you can find some songs like Liberate and Wait and Bleed that do kind of have like some decent night venue energy. And it's just good to kind of get that nightclub even. I mean, maybe these aren't dance songs, but they do at least, I mean, the energy, listening to mosh songs and metal songs in like a nightclub is interesting enough. But there are some ones where it just is something that's just going to get you energized and just make you really want to pound some shots at a bar or something like that. It's just good to get that. I recommend definitely to night venues that kind of have some pitch songs like Wait and Bleed, Liberate, and Surfacing and Diluted, and some of those as far as having some of that energy in a nightclub definitely works. Prosthetics is another arena-like song like Surfacing. This is definitely another one that kind of has like that crazy kind of outdoor kind of feeling towards it. It's very spaced out. Corey Taylor really gets pretty manic on this song. This has a lot of shrieks on here and that type of stuff. This good outdoor kind of vibes, but it's very shrill. So I just feel like a lot of these, Prosthetics is basically like the longest song on here, but it covers the energy quite well. So I just feel like that concept is just really taken care of. And there's just lots of manic craziness, lots of mosh songs, some good nightclub songs, a good single or two, at least a more polished single, and then a more ravenous single, and then even like a good arena kind of frustrated then even like a good arena like frustrated summer heat kind of single. So there's just some good stuff in here. But to talk about the 4 songs I didn't enjoy, like I felt like Scissors was too lengthy a song. I just couldn't convince myself to stay intact for that whole 8.5 minutes. And then like the two I feel like the 2 new metal songs, which were Only One and No Life, were kind of, I mean, I feel like some of this energy kind of worked, but for some reason, Corey Taylor could just not ride the instrumentals quite as well when he's shrieking and kind of screaming on these songs compared to when he's rapping on them. I just feel like the new metal songs just didn't hold a candle to the songs like Liberate and Wait and Bleed and Spit It Out and some of those type moments, and Prosthetics and Tattered and Torn. I mean, I just feel like that energy that Slipknot had. I mean, I like the fact I can see, like I said, I can see Slipknot being like a gateway album in terms of starting off with rap metal and that type of stuff and moving on to dis metal. But it's just interesting is because, in my opinion, the new metal songs just are not quite as crazy as like the metal songs. Like now that I've become past accustomed to new metal, I kind of see the new metal stuff as kind of like, just kind of like timid and just in the comparison. But for folks that need this as like a gateway, there are some songs on here, but I just feel like the metal songs are just far superior. But that's only one in No Life. And then I just didn't like the kind of mismatch and kind of unsynchronized energy of ER. I mean, it is kind of like a relatively crazy kind of pitch of a song, but it just didn't quite have the synchronization that I was looking for. So me liking 10 songs out of 14, I'm going to go ahead and give this album like a 9.25 out of 10. I feel like that's a pretty shrill pitch to kind of give about this album. It's a great debut. If I had liked maybe just one more song, it probably would have gotten a 10 out of 10. I just would have had to have said it was really close. I mean, it was really close. The energy, there's so many excellent songs. The energy being off the meter, the summer craziness, just making you want to take your shirt off, mosh, that type of stuff, get crazy, that sort of situation, pound some shots. And just the fact that it has some nightclub bops as well is pretty awesome. It's pretty good. The social score, I'll probably give a 10 out of 10 just because of that sheer energy. I mean, there's plenty of stuff on here. Even the new metal songs do have a relative degree of craziness. There's plenty of stuff just to say that this is a very social album, despite the fact that it only had 2 singles or 2.5 singles. You're bound to find something that just has something for that kind of energy. Most of the time, I would say your buddies should probably like more concepts like this. It just doesn't really have like a kind of more blue collar kind of song, but apart from that, it's pretty much it's intact to go. It's trained to go, packaged to go, that type concept for summer and autumn kind of times as far as that kind of goes. So I would say 10 out of 10 social, 9.25 score. In terms of the future, like Slipknot dropped an EP this month, which is pretty awesome. I'm gonna have to see about some more of these. I'm definitely gonna get to more Slipknot. I think the next one I'll cover will be like their 2014 album. This is a pretty damn rock solid debut.